Hi, in this video I want to talk about the musical instruments break-in period and this general belief that the older your instrument is, the better it's going to sound, meaning that instruments only get better with age. So, the break-in period that people refer to is a real thing. When we are dealing with actual acoustic instruments like violins, cellos, acoustic guitars, the wood itself changes. It dries up, the varnish dries up, it can form cracks. These cracks need to be repaired, and the sound definitely does change. If you have a brand new instrument that was made out of a piece of wood that was sourced from a tree that was just chopped down last month, then yes, you will see a drastic difference in your instrument's response within several years. And I'm again only talking about acoustic instruments. When it comes to your electric instruments, and there are several subcategories of electric guitars, for example. You can have your semi-acoustic guitars, and you can have fully solid body electric guitars. The guitars that are semi-acoustic, semi-hollow, the quality of the wood affects the sound because the air resonates with the wood, and even though you generally have a magnetic pickup, the way that the wood resonates affects the sustain of your guitar, the tonal qualities of your guitar. So ultimately, yes, in that situation, the wood that it's made out of, the quality of it, how old it is, affects the sound. When it comes to solid body electric guitars, there's a whole tone wood debate that the type of wood affects the sound, the type of the glue that was used. For example, the things like the fingerboard of your guitar, if it's maple versus ebony versus rosewood, that makes a difference. I think it does make a difference, but it's so insignificant that it can be completely overlooked, in my opinion. I have not personally performed any tests, but to me it makes sense. It's just a block of wood. And the whole point of solid body electric guitars is that they don't resonate. They are very they're not prone to feedback. That's why a hunk of wood was used instead of, using traditional instrument construction methods. So we got that out of the way. What else happens when you play your instruments? It begins to wear out. Frets wear out. Your neck warps. Your electronics get more staticky, and your magnets in your pickups get weaker and weaker by day. So if you have a brand new guitar and you have that exact same guitar 20 years later, the magnets themselves are going to make the pickups sound different. And what I think happens is that the more you play your number one guitar, the more you get used to all the quirks. I deliberately switch instruments when I play guitars. I have two Brian May guitars, and I have a Stratocaster. So these are the three main guitars that I use, and they're in my kind of rotation. And I deliberately switch these guitars because every guitar has its own unique quirks. It feels different. I'm going to consequently play them differently. And I remember just the other day, I used to play this one song on my one of my Brian May guitars, the green one, meaning that we had something like 3 rehearsals back to back where I was using that guitar. And then yesterday I decided to take out my Stratocaster, and it was just that solo was not unplayable, but I really had to adjust what I was doing in order to play that solo. My the lower horn on the Stratocaster was getting in the way when I was playing way up on the fingerboard. So what I'm trying to say is that the more you play your guitar, the more you're getting familiarized with all the various qualities of your instrument. It could be good things or bad things, like your specific, I don't know, string spacing or the height of your string. Some notes just choke out on certain frets, and you kind of work around that. And the more you play that one instrument, the more familiar you're going to feel, the more it will feel like it's actually getting better. But it's not that the instrument is getting better, you are getting better as a musician. And then back to how classical instruments can get better. This is basically a story that was told to me by my violin teacher. He used to perform with this famous Russian violin soloist, David Oistrakh. And it was a well-known fact that if David Oistrakh would play your violin for just a few minutes, and then you get it back from him, it would sound better immediately after. And I believe it, even though I don't really have any proof and I have not done any research. It does make sense if you think about it, because a wooden instrument, the molecules are kind of moving, they're gelling around. And if you're making sounds with proper violin technique, if it's so harmonious, then the molecules sort of crystallize. They form these shapes that kind of aid good sound production, if it makes any sense. I think the same applies to instruments like the flute or the trumpet. But yes, I remember when I was little, and it was like 7 or 8, and we were playing silly songs on the violin. And when the teacher took the violin from me in order to show me something and play it for me, as soon as I got the violin back, it just sounded better. I swear it did. So back to the same teacher that I started talking about earlier, he also told me the opposite, that somebody was auditioning for some music college on violin, and they asked him to let her borrow one of his instruments. And he agreed, and he gave a violin to her. And when he got it back, it was just a completely different instrument, meaning that it just did not sound the same. It lost like its richness. It became very shrill. So I do believe that acoustic instruments like violins can be broken in with things like trumpet. It's metal. I don't think the molecules are moving anywhere. The only thing that changes about the trumpet is you have to clean your trumpet. You have to wash it. You have to take a snake and make sure to take all the gunk out. If you don't take all the gunk out, then the more you play, the more of that crap collects in there. Your trumpet is going to change its sound. It's going to sound darker, and according to some people, they actually prefer that sound over the sound of a clean trumpet. It's a crazy topic, but the point is that if you don't clean your trumpet, you have personalized it. You have gotten used to the way it sounds, and the sound did change, and arguably it did improve. And in conclusion, I'm going in circles. Vintage electric guitars like that vintage 1954 Stratocaster or that 59 Les Paul Gold Top. I think it's a great collector's item, but just to think that it sounds like no other instrument because it's so aged, it's got that mojo, that's just silly. Just as silly as road wearing your guitar and making it look all beat up and like putting cigarette marks in it in hopes that it gets that mojo vibe. It's not gonna sound better. It's just a piece of wood with some strings and some magnets. Peace, y'all.